Hello?
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 Oops, I didn't have my earpiece in. Whoops. Oh, my God.
What's up,
How's
buddy?
it going, bud?
Welcome to Faustine Fridays. On what you up to?
Oh, baby. That's what I like. Weirdly, yeah, that's kind of been, I don't know why, but I've been saying that a lot lately. I've come up with a few, there's been a few, shelter-in-place catchphrases for me that I'm not really sure where they came from.
Dude, everybody needs catchphrases, especially in times like this. That's what
Times like
pushes
these.
the sitcom along, you know? All the repetitive plot lines and things. You need a catchphrase to remind you that, you're stuck here.
Cool, baby, that's what I like. Yeah, it works. That one, it was kind of born out of, I would say, 2 weeks ago, I was doing, and this is actually in, a local Michigan catchphrase, but there was a DJ on our classic rock station called Arthur P., and he would go, baby! And I started doing that. And that one gets a rise out of my girlfriend. She's like,
yeah.
Baby!
Probably scares her.
Yeah, it's good. It's
a
good
rise
to sneak
of fear.
that in, right when, because the world is tense enough right now, so I wait till her eyes start to flutter in dreamland, and then I go, baby! That's what I like. Definitely doing some soundboarding.
I just, my mom just sent me a video last night of the show how I got away with, or How to Get Away with Murder. You know that
nice.
show? I was a background actor in that. It was one of the last gigs I did, and I've got a full on close up. Full on close up. So you're talking to a big time Hollywood.
Damn, dude,
mogul.
Does that get you points?
I don't know. I feel like I did a good job. I mean, the editors chose to leave it in. He walked by me. I was at a funeral. I look pretty sad. You can't tell that I was actually really bored.
Okay.
But
very good.
It was nice. It was great. I remember it happening. It was really weird to see it from the other angle. From the angle.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, exactly. Dude, I never even thought about that. That actually, when I was growing up, my mom would freak out when there would be memory sequences, and you would see yourself in the memory, because people don't do that, but you're actually living that truth now.
Yeah, absolutely.
Wow.
Yeah. Wait, what's this about memory sequences? You don't see yourself? Oh, right, because you're not there.
I just remember when we would watch Baywatch, David Hasselhoff would always remember shit, and it would turn out that he was he was seeing himself bungee jumping and stuff.
Right.
But that's just not how it happens. But for you now, this is actually how it will happen.
Right. Yeah. It is, and it's really strange to see yourself. I look short. The guy, the main actor was the shot was supposed to be on him, but they open on me, and then he walks by me, and then they follow him, and they got to pan way, they got to tilt way up, because he was a good foot taller than me.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and it's you realize I needed that Tom Cruise treatment. I needed a
yeah. You gotta get an Apple box, dude. You should bring your own Apple box.
I remember specifically at that shoot. I remember the two of the other leads were standing directly in front of me, and they had one of them standing on a box.
Oh, really?
To give her a couple inches. Probably for a long shot, since it was a big crowd of people, make her stand out a little bit.
So you were just so brash that you were or either that, or you were so beaten down by the system you just didn't think that you would end up on TV.
No, I actually did think that this shoot I had the best chance of getting a real shot in there. But I still didn't know, they do so many different angles. I had no idea if it would just be the back of my head or something like that.
Right.
Or, but I knew that like the camera was constantly going right by my face because I was standing right next to a bunch of the leads. So I in everything else that I've been in, I was like positive that you would never see me, that I would just be like an amorphous, out of focus blob in the background.
Right.
Which has totally been the case because my mom watches a lot of the shows that I've been in, and like she was
really?
She made me describe what the episode of Young Sheldon was that I was in. And so I described it. I was like, the one little kid and the other little girl are like at a mall. And I walk around in the background, but like, I don't think you'll see me because like I had to have been complete. Like one time I walked like directly in front of the camera, but the people were out of way. So like, or farther away. So it was like, there's no way you could tell by my shoulder that was out of focus.
Right.
But yeah, you never know. You never expect
if you see a lot. See, that's the thing. If you see a camera, Brian, you just got to say something. I mean, you just got to start saying something.
I know. Well,
you got to make them feature.
I've totally like, anytime I have the ear of the director or the assistant director, that's who the AD is usually who deals with background. I'm always trying to throw a little, at least when I first started, I was trying to throw little suggestions out there, little improvs.
Yeah. You gotta you gotta get you on.
In the show where I was in the background of a steak eating contest and in Texas. It was in Los Angeles, but it's supposed to be in Texas. But anyway,
right.
What happens is a girl eats too much steak, and the paramedics have to come. Liv Tyler has to come and help her out, and they need to use like a catheter. And then there's a like gross out scene where like the catheter overflows and like sprays on the wall, and it's like cool. It is like very gross. You know what I mean? Like it's certainly very gross.
Yeah,
and so disgusting. And I was like right next to it during one of the scenes, and I was just like, they were way behind schedule, by the way, because Liv was having trouble that day. But
oh my God.
I suggested directly to the casting or the AD, like, who by the way did not like me. He didn't like me because I wasn't one of the attractive girls on the set. And he was very busy flirting.
Yeah.
Totally. But anyway, so I says to him, and this made the other background actors really laugh. So I was confirmed to me that like it was a great idea. That like as soon as that happens, they cut to me and I pass out from watching it happen, from watching the catheter explode, basically.
Oh yeah.
And I fall backwards. Then the paramedics have to help me. Like then they like roll their eyes and go, "Oh, here we go again." That, I mean, that's good stuff. That really would have worked.
That
in
is
that
good
show.
Stuff. They probably just didn't want to get you a writing credit. Basically, they probably would have had to put you because you're not. I don't know. Are you in the WGA? I don't even know.
I am not. I'm not in the.
So they probably just couldn't do it contractually.
Well, I mean, I was trying to say I'd give that to them. I just hand it to them. I just want the joy of being on part of the industry, and that one was theirs. That one was free. First one's free.
First one's free, just a taste.
Yeah, and that's what I thought.
Basically, because you're a credible artist, and like you basically just want anything you're even tacitly involved in. You just want it to be the best possible.
Look, it's all about the
version
art.
of itself.
It's all about the art in the end, and like. And the other actors laughed when I suggested this, and the AD just rolled his eyes and was like, "Listen, you're gonna be here. You guys are you got the wrong attitude. You guys are gonna be here forever. Like, we're gonna be here till like 4 a.m. And like, meanwhile, we're thinking like, yeah, that's great. That means like we'll get double time and
meal penalty or whatever. Yeah,
right. And it really did go that long because like, as I said, Liv Tyler was having a bad day.
Well, you figure she's used to working with like Bertolucci and Michael Bay and and Peter Jackson and shit, and then she has to come down and get her get her catheter spliced.
Yeah. Well, she was the paramedic.
Oh, she was the paramedic.
It was the object work that she was struggling with. Like, I think it was kind of that she was a perfectionist, actually, because she was really like wanted to know exactly what the procedural thing she was supposed to be doing was.
Really?
And the assistant director she just kept saying, like, Liv, like, it doesn't matter. Just like grab one of the hoses, whatever. Like, it's not, we're just going to see your face. So just like, just do whatever, look like you're doing something, and then it'll be fine, you know?
Right.
And, but she was just like, well, I want it to get it right, you know? And they're like, okay, fine.
God.
Like hundreds of thousands of dollars being spent every hour.
Every minute.
It was
that's
crazy.
The thing that I don't really even understand too. Like, I guess it's just I'm not a method actor or whatever. Like, I mean, it's a stretch sometimes to even call me an actor. But like, the one thing that has never really made a ton of sense to me is like, if they're like, yeah, we're not going to show a close up of your hands needling up on this person. Like, can't you just pretend that? Aren't you aware that there are like test workers?
Yeah,
they generally are just in a hurry, you know.
Right. Yeah, like the level of like, I mean, I guess just when you've been acting that long, I also kind of felt like it was like an excuse that like she kept fumbling her lines, so then she was just like kind of blamed it on the process. You know what I mean?
Oh,
like, it felt a little bit like that. Like she was maybe a little out of it and just like kind of didn't care either. It was a silly show. Oh my God, that was the line. Did I tell you about the my bathroom hurts line? Like, I can say this now because the show is already premiered on television.
Yeah.
So I'm not giving anything away.
I think you did one time. Yeah, you gotta remind me.
Okay, so as I said, scenes of stake eating contest. The premise of the gag is that there's a big man who really liked me, by the way. This big guy really he took a picture of me and came up to me and wanted to share it with me on social media and told me that like I had great faces going. So again, just further proof that I'm a good background actor. But so anyway, this guy's huge. And you know, and then he's going against this like little like 5 foot nothing, like 30-pound
Kobayashi type.
Exactly. And so obviously he's gonna crush her, right? But guess what? She wins. But shortly after she wins, she passes the fuck out. Oh, and by the way, the stunt person who passed out for her and like as she goes down was supposed to hit her head on the table. It looked good. Like it looked fucking great. Like I had so much respect for stunt work in that moment. Like, cause it really looked like she slammed her head on the table and went down. Like the whole audience went like, "Oh."
Yeah, that's incredible. And honestly, if I could do that, I would do it everywhere. No one would actually want to be my friend just because, like, I'd go into their house and smash my brains all over the floor. Just
constantly pulling like a Farley, like at all times. Just, like,
gotcha!
Yeah, so anyway, so she goes down, and then the paramedics, Liv Tyler, has to come in and help her out, and she's not like making sense, you know. She's like on the ground just like moaning around. She's in so much pain, she's not really making sense. So that's to kind of try to excuse this dialogue that's happening next, which is that Liv Tyler asks if she's pregnant. By the way, there was a prosthetic stomach, ostensibly because her stomach had enlarged so much from eating all the steak.
From all the steak.
Yeah.
From all the steak.
Right.
Okay.
So she kind of looks like she's got a pregnancy bump. And so so Liv's like, "Hey, what's up with the are you pregnant?" And the girl goes, "No, baby." She's doing a fake Southern accent. And no, baby. And then she goes, "Okay, ma'am, what's wrong then?" She goes, My bathroom hurts." And like, I can't tell you, I'm sure I texted you because like I listened to that bit of dialogue like at least 100 times. Like at least.
I now remember, and this was like, honestly, I was thinking to myself, I think you texted me, and I was either working late or I was wrapping up for the day or something.
Night, probably.
Yeah, and something anyway, it made me like rethink my entire life. Where I was like, man, why am I still working a desk job? I could be on set.
It was like honestly my first real gig. It went 15 hours. And I got tons of overtime, tons of like little bonuses for meal breaks and stuff. And I just sat there and watched like Liv Tyler act, and it was really funny. My bathroom hurts. I just couldn't believe it that was a real line that somebody wrote.
Yeah. I mean, maybe that is why Liv Tyler was having so many struggles with it, honestly. It's like, she is like, I actually bring it up just because I just watched it this past week, but like I actually watched her debut film, and it was Bernardo Bertolucci. And then now, 15 years later, like I've been watching a lot of 90s thrillers, like erotic thrillers.
Yeah,
it was one of the few subgenres I wasn't really allowed to watch. I think we have mutual friends who call them khaki thrillers. But like, they're amazing, and it really, I'm kind of glad that I waited until now, because it's like this whole nother world that I just didn't expect. I didn't have any expectations for it, didn't expect to love, and now I'm just obsessed with these.
I love these movies. We definitely rented every single one of them when we were like 16, me and my friends.
Oh my God. Well, I feel like I would have watched them very differently if I was 16, though, because I would definitely be watching them with like a pant tent, as opposed to watching them now and being like, how the fuck is Michael Douglas suing for sexual harassment? They're all, because they're all like written by men. It's always, I feel like they're all just like whataboutism. Like, oh yeah, well, women sometimes do that too.
Yeah, there's and like Michael Douglas will be like legitimately sexually assaulting people in the movie, and but like the female will be the bad guy somehow. Like, because she's like straight up murdering people.
Yeah, it's definitely given me an appreciation for Michael Douglas in a way that I never thought I would have, which is that I admire the fact that he's like never once, like, people may have made him like a sex symbol, but he never once tried to be. Like, he just played like a gross, greedy, rich kid whose dad was famous. Like, he just plays himself, basically. Which I really like. So where was I going with this? Liv Tyler.
Erotic thrillers. Maybe there was an erotic thriller with Liv Tyler in it.
She is. Yeah, she is in an erotic thriller. That's where she got her start. And I bring that up to say, I guess that I think I'm having trouble. I'm having trouble today, Brian, because for the first time in like a month, I got too much sleep. Like, I'm overslept.
Oh, really? Yeah, that'll do it. That'll make your brain even foggier sometimes. How much is too much?
Went to bed at 10, probably, maybe 11. And then I slept straight. I got up to pee maybe at 6, but I went right back to sleep and didn't wake up till 9:11 on the dot.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's a bit too much. Anything over 9 hours, and I'm feeling pretty weird and a little guilty, a little strangely guilty.
Yeah. Well, it definitely has been a day of strange guilt for me, because I'm in a really precarious work situation right now where my office got the PPP loan.
Oh, wow.
But it's like contingent on them is so bad. It's contingent on them bringing back everybody who was let go. But because my office is pretty confident that they won't be rehiring people after the loan runs out, they don't want to muck up our workflow now. So,
wow.
So now I have all these coworkers who are just getting paid the entirety of their salaries to do nothing. And when I complained about it to my boss, he was like, "Do you really want?" Just in case he ever listens to this, I will change his name. Although I guess it doesn't matter because he'd know who I'm talking about.
Yeah.
But like, do you really want Mike back? Like, do you really think he would be of any help to you right now? And I was like, wow. But like, you kept him employed for 7 years. If you didn't think he'd be of any help, then why were you paying him for 7 years? And like
God.
Like the square resolve of it that is tough to admit. I really did have to say, like, I think the only help he would be is like emotionally, it would be better for me if he wasn't getting paid more than me to do nothing.
Sure. That makes sense.
But it probably would not help me on a physical day-to-day.
Yeah.
So I had been like stewing over that. And
that
so I
funny.
Worked up.
That's such a human thing to like, to be like, yeah, you're right. He would offer me no job, but I just don't like the idea of him getting paid.
I know. Actually, it's really like, it's like disabusing me of anything I actually thought I cared about or believed in.
Yeah, it's not so much that I want him to work or help me. It's more so that I don't want you to continue paying him. Like that would actually quell my feelings a little better.
Well, and the thing that sucks about it too, and I feel so bad for him, but I can really get this across to him. I attempt to, like, actually, because of the way the unemployment works, if he just was like, yeah, I don't feel comfortable, I have like a compromised immune system or something, and I don't feel comfortable going back to work, his unemployment benefits mixed with like what the federal government's giving you would actually be better than what he's getting paid anyhow. So
yeah, that's true. Yeah.
So he's like losing money to be completely neutered in his job, told he's not of any value, and then get fired like 3 months from now.
Yeah, there's so many situations like that seem to be happening right now. I mean, you're a prime example of just like, what the fuck? Like, why do we need to be doing this right now? Like,
oh, absolutely. I mean, it's a completely silly grind at the moment. And like, it's funny because I had to work up all my like Midwestern courage, because I'm just not very good at advocating for myself.
Yeah.
And I sent my boss an email on Tuesday night or Wednesday night and was just like, we got to talk because you got me working from home and, I'm working on my personal computer. It's busted. I need you to either pay to get it fixed or buy me a new computer ASAP stat.
Yeah.
And then no email about it. And then I like got all gooey inside. I was like, maybe I shouldn't have said that. Oh no. And then my boss called me yesterday while I was cleaning off the top of my fridge. And he was like, yeah, look it up. Just try to buy something under $2,000.
Oh, nice.
And I didn't know what to do. Like, I couldn't even figure it out. And then my dumb Midwestern brain's like, he said under $2,000. And here I am looking at like, well, this one's only $700.
Yeah, I could save the company money.
Yeah, I could say for no reason. What would be the point of it?
And actually, it would definitely probably hinder you because you'd be running into the same technical issues that you ran into before with your other $700 computer.
Exactly. It's completely bananas. But I'm like, oh, I mean, it's $700. Well, it's $700 today. I mean, my personal computer was $700 7 years ago. So I bet you the computing power is just completely bananas.
It's the whole thing right now is just like there's been such a bringing out into the light, like the just like nonsense numbers that we had accepted as normal for so long.
Right.
Like I think about that with or like even just talking about that show, like since we were talking about background acting and stuff, like how much money was going into crew and like how I always saw that as like a positive thing. That like all these people are working, like the vast majority of them are in a union. Like us background actors are the only ones who are not in the union, and actually we are treated very well and get overtime, and like there's tons of food, and like it's the easiest kind of work, but they're actually fairly polite. And it was definitely overkill. You know what I mean? Like there was like all that shit. Like there was too many fog machines, too many people on set with holding lights, too many different grips and everything, too many trailers, too much equipment. Like it was just crazy. And like I thought about that with watching John Oliver's show. You know how like you'll watch that only on YouTube anyway? Even though I have HBO, I only watch like 20 minutes of John Oliver occasionally on YouTube, you know?
Yeah, me too. Yeah, right. It'll pop up in between Rogan clips. It'll pop up and
right, because it's just like it's just like palatable mainstream journalism. You know what I mean? It's just like whatever. I'm gonna learn a little something here, and and whatever. It'll be in a 20-minute chunk. So while I'm washing dishes. But anyway, I remember watching it right after they went lockdown. And it was just him sitting at a desk, clearly doing it to his phone. And I remember feeling the awkwardness of the way the jokes landed without a studio audience, like of just like a kind of slight pause or whatever, and how it just felt like weird and awkward and bad.
Yeah.
And then like didn't think about it too much, like and then like thought about the fact that like the shine was removed and stuff, and like this is what we're left with. And then watching it again like a couple weeks later, didn't even notice, like had completely forgotten whatever the feeling was of the original show where there was a laugh track and a whole studio audience. There was a whole bunch of cameras, a bunch of crew, like so many.
There was angles, there was filmed bits and segments.
Yeah, all kinds of bits and stuff. Like already that I didn't used to watch before because I'd only watched the long 20-minute segment that was on YouTube. But anyway, now I'm just watching that, and it's just him talking into like probably an iPhone or something. And then like editors and writers and stuff. So probably, a total just skeleton crew. And I'm just thinking like, oh yeah, like this show has been gutted and it's virtually the same.
Yeah, there's very little difference. Especially I am very curious to see, and like Ellen DeGeneres, she's already gutted her payroll and gutted her staff and basically realized, and she's like notoriously like an awful person who like tricks your mom into liking her.
Pretty shrewd.
But she's already hoarded all the wealth and like there's no way it goes back,
Oh yeah.
At the end of this. And like, and if you're a studio man, what would compel you to let it go back? Like, really? Because especially, I remember John Oliver specifically is funny to me because I noticed, I did also watch one on YouTube, and I couldn't even tell the difference. I'm like, isn't this what the show always looked like?
Yeah. At this point, I don't notice at all.
Yeah, it's just like him yelling at you. So doesn't it work the same way?
It would, like, if the studio audience came back and stuff, I would have the feeling of like, oh, they gave this YouTube star a show. You know what I mean? Like I would then forget about this. But yeah, it's weird. Like part of me is like I'm a little concerned just because like I really did like it does feel like a waste because like we've been raised in this like capitalistic system of like, you know what I mean? Like being told that like workers' rights like aren't important. You know what I mean? And like that's where you can cut down on you know, inefficiency and stuff and like budget and things, especially also since like, you know, you and I, whenever we've had to film any of our sketches or videos or anything, like, you know, we do it like everything ourselves, you know, like just a small anybody we can get to help. And like so it makes me sad to think that like, you know, potentially Hollywood would use this as a way to just like cut down on the crew, you know, the unionized crew of a you know, a major motion picture or stuff like.
Totally, because there's still like so much like there, even with like all the unions and stuff, there's nothing egalitarian about it. Like it's still like John Oliver probably makes like $25 million a year, and everybody else makes 80,000.
Right, and they work everyone else is the one working like crazy ass hours. Like the actors on these shows just basically like get to show up at 9, mostly hang out in their trailer. Then when the thing's all set up, somebody takes a golf cart over to their trailer, picks them up, you know, so they stop watching whatever show they're watching or chatting on the phone or whatever they're doing. Then they get run over, they do their scene, and then they get driven back to their trailer where then the next shot is set up. And the crew is actually working like something like 15-hour days, and then maybe sleeping a couple hours and going to the next set then like at 6 a.m. You know what I mean? Like but you're like you said, like they get paid good American standards, like worker standards, like they get paid, you know, whatever, like $20 an hour or something. But but it's not, you know, it's like you said, it's like 1% of what like the actual actors or producers are making.
I mean, that to me is like the craziest part of this whole, like I guess trying to figure out the financials of this. Like, it's really strange to me that somebody like John Oliver, you know, and not to use him as a bad example, you know, we'll go back to Ellen because she is a bad example. But like, really, Ellen, you couldn't spare a fucking, you know, for 6 months, you couldn't pay the paltry salaries of your underlings.
Right.
Like, it's just so crazy to me because there is no, like, we're in this together.
Right. And like, that's what I liked about it was that feeling of like, you know, everyone wanted to be in this thing. Like, even that was something I realized because when I first started background acting, I kind of thought maybe I would like try to learn how the crew, like what it was like to be a crew member, and if that would be like a potential career choice for me. But one thing I realized was like there wasn't that much difference in the background actor versus the crew member, just that like the crew member gets paid a little more, but it's like a lot more work. And and like if you actually wanted to be like a real union crew member, like you wanted to be a camera operator or just the focus guy or a sound man or a key grip or something like that, like those people work their whole lives to get into those positions. Like it's not like a side gig. That's not like something they just find themselves
you don't just pick it up.
They go to school with that and immediately start it like apprenticing, and then like, you know, they're like top shit if they're working on a TV show. Like, you're doing well. Like you've
reached the apex of your craft, basically.
Right. It's not like being a plumber or something. Like, you know, it's like, and even that, being a plumber is something you'd have to spend years of your life to like learn.
You have to learn these trades
and get exactly. And whereas like background acting, you just have to like know how to pretend to be sad for a second and be super patient.
Like patience.
But like that was the thing, was just like it feels like an industry that's like that it kind of justifies itself. We're like, you're paying all these people to be here. Often that results in some serious like inefficiency almost, but like it justifies itself because it does end up making money. It is like creating art, even though often low art, like, or just like shitty comedies or like you know, kind of cliche
or Texas
shit.
Texas style steak competition.
Yeah, but it's better than creating like whatever. Like even when I was making candles all day, like I far prefer making low art than I do like, you know, stuff for a rich person to buy in a boutique. You know, I'd much rather somebody like watch something and maybe have a slight emotion, you know?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, because like, and even if it is like crummy, you know, or low art or whatever, it's like your mom organically watches the shows that you end up, you know, being on. Like, so she really likes, like, my mom also works very hard, you know, does her like regular day job and watches Young Sheldon and will tell me dating advice from How I Met Your Mother. And like,
of course.
That's how, yeah, I mean, it exists for somebody.
Absolutely.
You know?
Absolutely. And it's like, so why, like, that's what I mean. It's like, it kind of just feels like, why not? Like, what if there was just more of that? And that was the kind of industry that the world, you know what I mean? Like, I think there's also that feeling that comes from the Midwest of like, it's not real work. It's Hollywood. It's, it's like, totally. You know, you're just making this nonsense, silly business. And like, so what's the thing? It's just like, what if we all just spent the vast majority of our time and let robots make other stuff? And the rest of us were just making trivial little pieces of art and things, you know?
Oh, totally. I mean, so one of the times I've been like fortunate to kind of play dress up in like a larger, you know, program or like TV show or something. And like one of the times I got to pretend to be an actor for a little while was like I was on this show that was made for, I think it might be a defunct streaming network now, that was like it was like before AT&T and Warner Brothers merged. They had like all these like boutique streaming services.
Yeah.
And one of them was for like anime and fantasy and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And so we did this, like, I was like cast as this like goblin in a fantasy TV show where I was hanging out with like a YouTube star and Open Mike Eagle. And we like all went to like a Harry Potter style school together.
Yeah.
And, you know, it was completely not for me. I won't say how I really felt about it, but it was certainly not anything I would ever personally watch or write or say unless somebody was paying me to say it. But the thing that blew my mind about it is like I had never been on set for more than one day, like in just like various small roles, and like to see the commitment to this idea, like this piece of like, you know, streaming trash TV. I mean, these people were working like 17 hours. Like, yeah, they all knew, they were talking like lenses. They all knew everything they were doing. Like, and each department just had its own like verve to it that you could get into. Like, I found that I really liked hanging out in the makeup room. You know? It's like, there's just so many. It is like a microcosm of the American labor force.
Right.
Like, but like done in this really strange way, because it is like, there's definitely like assembly line toolies on a film set, but they're just doing like, they're like doing rigging so that like Tom Cruise can explode.
Yeah.
You know?
Totally. It's like, it's interesting because it's like, there are little like feelings of like automatons out there, like where they're like, man, some fucking fighter jets just flew over my house.
Oh, you got the fighter jets. That's for, instead of giving hazard pay to people that work at hospitals and or grocery stores.
Oh, if they're flying war machines over us?
Yeah, they're flying war machines instead of giving hazard pay. So
yeah, that'll boost everybody's spirits.
Salute, baby.
Yeah, like I remember at one of the sets, like, and this would happen more often when we were actually at a major studio. There were like a little bit more like rules or whatever, but like they were just rules for our own benefit. Like I remember I like walked over where people were drinking coffee and like getting snacks and like started getting one, and like somebody came up to me and was just like, hey, just so you know, like this is actually for crew or whatever, and you guys have a table over by your holding area, you know.
Oh yeah,
like, where we just chill. And like, you know, my initial thing, because I just fucking hate it when anyone tells me what to do in any respect at all, because I'm a little baby. And it was just like wanted to be like, yeah, well, why don't you go fuck yourself? Because I'm gonna drink this coffee. But then I was just like, oh yeah, the only reason they want it this way is because like the crew's working hard and they want to make sure their shit doesn't run out, and we've got our own shit, which is exactly the same shit over there.
Right,
like
right.
It's just a matter of like designating it so like their table is closer to them and our table is closer to us, and like
you know? Yeah, but dude, if you stay in your area, how are you going to get those big ideas? You know?
Yeah, that's true.
How are they going to have you pass out when you see this explosion? You know, when you see this belly pregnancy or whatever the fuck.
Well, they didn't want me to do it. That guy did not like me. He, you know what really set him off right off the bat? As soon as he saw me, he didn't like me because I had a brown ball cap on. Okay. Which I brought from home.
Yeah.
I was supposed to dress like a guy who would go watch a steak eating contest in Austin, Texas. So I wore like a flannel shirt with a bolo tie and a brown like kind of just plain brown ball cap. And like everyone else, like they usually have like costumes out there. And they want you to try to bring options so you can just dress yourself. But like if you don't have great stuff, then they'll like give you something usually, or like have you change. And so I presented myself to the costume people, showed them what I had. They were giving everybody else cowboy hats. And I says, hey, what about if you guys gave me one of those sweet cowboy hats? And they says, nah, I like your brown, you know, cap. That looks actually more like natural, you know?
Yeah.
And sure enough, I got there and I realized like, oh, this is Hollywood's idea of what Austin, Texas dresses like. Which is like everybody in a goddamn cowboy hat, like a bandana, like they're fucking like in a John Wayne movie from the 40s. And
well, howdy, partner. Welcome to the Texas. Yeah,
right.
Austin, the most like metropolitan of Texas.
Totally, it looks like Portland when you walk around there. Like it's like hot Portland.
Yeah, but, exactly. The only distinguishing Texas flair of Austin is like the ironic use of those things.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. You're right. Like the hipster use of that, and like the fact that it's also like collegey. So it's like, again, like there are like kind of rednecks, but they look like frat boys, not like fucking cowboys. But so anyway, we all get, you know, we're all just waiting, and then they call a bunch of us to the set. And I walk down there, and usually what happens is you just kind of stand there and let the AD like place you around the set, you know, trying to decorate the shot basically. And so as soon as he sees me, he's like, they gave you that hat? And I was like, no, they wouldn't. No, I brought this. And he was like, he was like mad about it. And I was just like, look, man, like not my choice. Like I asked for a cowboy hat. And he was like, they didn't give you a cowboy hat? Like what? Like he basically distrusted that he thought like I just wanted to wear this.
Oh, you were really sneaking the hat?
Yeah. That was like the weird feeling. And I was like, what the fuck? And like, I talked to one of the other guys who was just like, it's like, oh, that guy didn't like your hat, huh? And I was like, God damn it. Like the beginning of the day, my first gig, I was like, oh God, this guy hates me now.
Yeah, you're gonna get fired.
Yeah, and of course it like he barely noticed me. But he always just kind of looked at me, and then, you know, man, if I'd had that cowboy hat, he might have taken my offer.
Yeah, if you had that cowboy hat, he might have said, "Oh, you know what? That is a great idea.
That is a
I would
funny
love to see
idea.
you
Even though we've been here for 10 hours, I think that is something we should push for shooting right now. Like, that's a great idea. I will walk up to the executive producer and the director and Liv Tyler and say, hey, you see that guy over there in the cowboy hat who's being paid minimum wage to stand in the background? Yeah, he says he has a great idea.
You know what? We're gonna take an early dinner. We're gonna reset. We're gonna get more EMS workers in here. We're gonna live. You're gonna have to learn how to deal with this
$100,000 worth of equipment over so we can get a close up of this guy pretending to pass out, and we'll set up we'll have to get a stunt man too.
yeah, we can't let him do his own stunt.
Yeah. But so he hated me right off the bat because of like the Hollywood thing. And then like the assistant to the assistant director, the first thing he said to me when he saw me was, oh, see, that's actually more like what people look like, is just having ball caps and stuff. Like, we got to get you in there. And I was like, oh man, you're going to have a problem with this other guy.
Oh boy. Yeah, there's going to be a fight. There's going to be a fight because this guy wants everything to be authentic steers.
Yeah.
Texas Roadhouse.
There was God. I had to, normally, like, I've met so many, like, really nice weirdos there, like, as my other background actors, you know?
Yeah.
And they're just, like, weird people. And you kind of, like, feel embarrassed right off the bat of, like, that you're going, because you're not, you're usually not supposed to be, like, talking or saying real words or anything. You know what I mean? You're just supposed to be kind of mouthing a conversation. And, you're trying to be like somewhat animated, but you feel pretty silly. You're essentially playing pretend with a group of people for money. And, and like, you feel a little self-conscious with a stranger doing that right off the bat. But then usually, they're doing the same thing and they just say action, background, and then you start doing it and they're doing it. You're kind of making each other laugh and it's fine,
Yeah, you get into it.
And sometimes you can talk. And so that's fun because then I'll like just start, a fake weird conversation and try to make them laugh. You know what I mean? But
oh yeah, buddy. I know what you mean.
But anyway, on that one, the first thing this like woman says who shows up is like, we all have fake drinks, we all have like fake beer bottles filled with water or whatever. And this woman immediately goes like, I think that they make beer bottles this way so they look phallic. And that's like, and it was this like weird, awkward kind of like the kind of thing when somebody says something that they think is like deep, and you have to kind of be like, oh, wow, that's pretty interesting.
Yeah. Oh, I never thought of it on that level. Yeah.
Right. And it's also uncomfortable because like, certainly in this day and age, you don't want to be talking about that kind of shit.
Yeah, totally.
To people you don't know on a film set. Like,
oh my God.
But you also don't want to like call them out and be like, that's inappropriate. You don't want to be that.
Maybe we shouldn't be talking about anything phallic on a film set.
Let's not go there because a lot of these dudes are going to jump on that, and then I'll suddenly be a party to a conversation.
Oh yeah, the amount of UCB training that goes on out here. Yeah. God damn! Immediately these guys would be like, "I got a B+ in season 4. Watch my object.
Yeah, watch me like suck off this bottle. Like this is gonna be great.
Nope.
And
nope.
Yeah, and then I'm gonna be guilty by association because I'm forced to stand right there. But anyway, she says this, and then like we're supposed to talk, and this person like just looks at me wide-eyed while I'm like pretending to talk, and then just like kind of glances over at the camera. Like just like couldn't do it. Just like couldn't be bothered to like do the momentary pretending to be in a scene. There's so much of that. So a lot of people are just normal, like just kind of like fun people who would just like pretending. and that's why they're there. But like, there are some people that are just like, why are you doing this? Like,
this makes no sense.
This is so easy. And like, also there'll be people like complaining so much, and it's like, what did you think this was gonna be? Like, this is the easiest job I've ever had. They feed us constantly really good food. We're watching celebrities make fools of themselves. And like, we have to work a minimum of 2 hours on a 9-hour day. Like, it is, I read entire books while I'm here. Like, what is your problem with this?
That is, See, I do wonder if it's like, because I wonder if it's like a regional thing, not to bring everything back to the Midwest, but like, I wonder if you like, depending on where you grew up, you know, or like what your expectations of Hollywood would actually be, you know, how you would be able to cope with it. Because I do think, I was on something with a guy who grew up in Orange County, and he was like, he was kind of doing that. Like, he's the reason I always make the joke that, like, you know, if you're going to do background, you got to make it pop. Just start screaming, you know, just start screaming at the camera. Because this guy was
saying that.
he did like martial arts work. Like he was like a skilled martial artist, I guess. And so he just kept like doing these like very demonstrative demonstrations, I guess. It's redundant, but doing these demonstrations basically so that people more important than us could see him doing it. And it was like, yeah, dude, you showed me that. It's pretty cool. And he's like, no, but watch this. And it's like, this was on a anti-smoking. It was like an Adult Swim co-produced anti-smoking, like truth.com PSA. So they were like going for the vibe that it's like cool and hip, but essentially it's a PSA about smoking. And this guy was just like constantly like showing off these spin kicks and shit. And it's like, what do you think is going to happen?
Yeah.
The director of an anti-smoking PSA is going to be like, you're never going to believe this, but the next movie I'm making is a martial arts fantasy with all the biggest stars, produced by Marvel Studios. Like, we got to have you.
It is funny. It really is funny because there are definitely, that's like the other end of the people. And it's like, that is honestly, if you can keep a positive nature about that, if you can stay positive, then like that is the right mentality, because it is that stupid and that ridiculous. And there are lines being written like, my bathroom hurts. And if the right ridiculous director who's been directing TV for 20 years and has never made anything good in his entire life sees some 20-year-old kid do a cool karate kick, there is a real possibility that he may be like, wow, did you see the way that kid moves? Hey, talk to him. I want to put him in this Statham feature.
Yeah, let's see if we could get him to kick the scalpel out of Liz Tyler's hand.
That's genuinely the way it goes. I mean, they pulled 2 guys out of the thing that they were kind of like bigger guys. They had cowboy hats, and they were in like they ended up so much in it that they got like union wages instead. Like, and that happened to me one time as well. So it's just like it's all fickle. Like, it doesn't like, as long as you're like likable enough and happenstance, like, because there's no like, again, what you're making is nonsense. So like, there's just as good of a chance that like you'll get a slight, like, it doesn't mean anything to be in a show or to be an actor or a celebrity. It's all meaningless. So it's like, yeah, why not this kid who can karate kick? That's like, honestly, I think the story, if I'm remembering correctly, of how Van Damme got discovered was that like he was just in a bar and he was trying to break into the industry and, you know, could barely speak English. And he like, somebody told him that like that guy was a producer, and he went up to the producer and was like, look at my hot body, look at me, and watch this. And then he kicked above his head and held his leg there and went down in a split.
You know, like, it would work for me.
That was it.
Yeah. Oh, that would work for me.
Fucking. No, go ahead.
Well, I mean, that's the thing. I'm listening to a book on tape, the Ronan Farrow book on tape about the Weinstein stuff, and it's
right.
It displays a ton of hubris on Ronan Farrow's part because he not only does he read it himself, which is like kind of a no-no for audiobooks, like
especially journalism.
But then he also does voice impressions of every person he interviews in it. So it's pretty hard. It's pretty harsh. But one of the things that's in it is like, that was one of like the predatory ways that Harvey Weinstein preyed on people, was kind of doing the same, like using that movie that like Jane Mansfield, Jean-Claude Van Damme, discovery story for everybody. Like, it doesn't matter if you speak English. It doesn't matter if you do that. Like, we can work on all that. All you got to have.
You caught the
gotta have the vibe.
Right. That is the. I mean, he's a monster, but he's certainly not unique to that. Like, of course, these people would abuse that power and that hopefulness of the actor. You know what I mean?
Totally.
Wanting to get into the business at all, but like. Yeah,
but it's interesting because it has to be. It's born out of something, like, of course. Because I always laugh that shit off, but like I also haven't really spent a lot of time on sets. Like, I guess it does work. Like, those fucking guys got to eat steaks all day.
Right,
Liv Tyler.
I mean, in the end, it really is as simple as that. It really is. It's just like they basically just want hyper charismatic, good looking people. That's like all they're looking for. And if you're super charismatic, then like they don't even care necessarily that you're super good looking or whatever. Like, I mean, it's about performance, and so it's fairly vapid, like at least that aspect of it. And even within the more deep, like the deeper levels of art creation in Hollywood, like it's still pretty it's still more about like how easy are you to talk to, like who are you friends with, like all that shit, you know. I think that's
always why, like, whenever I hear a story about like how, like, it was a big article last week, it's interesting to see that COVID has slowed the news cycle a little bit, where kind of feels like more of an Obama era news cycle where like because everybody's stuck at home, like you can have like 3 things that are huge in a week. Like Val Kilmer interview that lasted for like 4 days. People were talking about it all week. Did you hear about this Val Kilmer interview?
No.
Oh, dude! Now it's on to week 2, basically. Last weekend in the New York Magazine, they had like a "Where Are They Now?" like a really long piece on Val Kilmer.
Oh, cool.
And but like the interesting thing too. Well, like there's a lot of interesting. I mean, I give it a high recommend. They also recorded a audio version of it, so if you just, it's not the type of thing you got to read. So if you just have a half hour want to listen to the audio version on a walk, it's just as good. But it's
I do.
That's the zone. Then it's on. They actually released it in the Daily, like the New York Times Daily podcast stream.
Right.
But it's just like basically he's like a Christian Scientist now and blah blah blah. But like one of the things that blew my mind about it is like when he was having his like heyday success, everybody he worked with hated him and like talked about how he was abusive and like so crummy to be around. And it's like, guess what? Since these things are like 15-hour hangout days, I don't know how you get yourself in a position if you're a bad person to be around, you know?
Well, I think that is like,
the good looks just outweigh it or something.
Definitely that. And I also think it just makes you into a bad person, like as well. Like if you're already kind of eccentric and don't understand social cues very well, and you add to that you start thinking you're kind of the shit, and you're in a business where you're supposed to pretend all the time. Like it's just like a weird cocktail that certainly is going to end in you like being a little off-putting at best. You know what I mean? Like, unless you're like especially if you started really young, you know, you didn't have much of a life before that, like it would definitely, like, that kind of power would corrupt. Because like you said, like, you know, the way that people like it's such a desired position to be an actor.
Yeah.
And people want it so bad. So like once you get it, like you'd be dealing with the fact that like it's really not a big deal. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's like it's just a job, and now you feel completely alienated from the rest of the world.
Yeah.
So the only thing you have to fall back on is that, like, well, I guess I might at least be the shit then. I guess I might be kind of cool.
Right.
So I'm gonna ride this wave while it lasts.
A couple nights ago, David and I were sitting around and we were like, we're prepping for this big, like, Doors, you know,
right,
where we watched the Doors movie. And we watched the Val Kilmer on Inside the Actors Studio. And I don't think there's a better example of what you just described as anybody under 50 who's on Inside the Actors Studio.
Yes.
Because it is just like a room full of their peers who are like, clearly the difference is this person is really good looking who's on stage, and everybody else is a serious actor, right. I.e. they're not as good looking. But like watching Val Kilmer on Inside the Actors Studio just like flippantly like tell this room full of people, and then James Lipson was like, yeah, you had success right off the bat. You were in Top Secret. And he's like, oh yeah, and you know, it's a serious movie and blah blah blah. But like, I was, it's like a funny movie, but I was trying to bring like a level of seriousness to it. And I pitched at him. I said, like, you gotta let me do like a really thoughtful version of Elvis in it.
Yeah.
And it's like he's talking, and like you could look at that as if that's like meaningful and anything he says is true, or you could look at it and be like, yeah, he's physically astounding looking.
Right.
And can say words out loud.
Right. And he's just like a performer. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like in the end, like I remember like Dylan in one of those kinds of things in the early days where they had him do a press conference. And like I remember them asking him like what kind of music he thought he made. And he said he was a song and dance man. And it's like it's just that kind of funniness, that funny like you either decide to like take yourself seriously and what you do seriously, or you just like remember that like you're just a performer and try to perform as good as you can, you know. Like just try like what's the writing team from The State, Thomas Lennon. And
who does he? I don't know who he works with. Oh, okay.
Ben Grant or something like that.
Yeah.
Garat, not Grant. But anyway, they wrote a book about like writing screenplays, and I didn't read it, but somebody was telling me a story from it that was like they when they were like having success with like Disney movies and stuff and Night at the Museum, they had a chance to sit down with Jackie Chan, you know, superstar to the end, Jackie Chan, like, and like who would have a better, you know, he's clearly an eccentric dude. He's like, you know, a giant superstar in two major world powers. You know what I mean? Like,
he's the two.
He's like loud. He's like a god, and he's like, he like sings too. He's like actually a country singer star, and he's just like a genuine weirdo, you know, like, but like
he was a really heavy early adopter of the Segway. Just as a quick aside,
an early adopter of the Segway. Oh, of the Segway,
he rode
of
the Segway
the vehicle.
Everywhere.
Okay. Interesting. Yeah, that makes sense. He seems like the kind of eccentric who would do that. I mean, he must be like so rich, but like he has this he started with like incredible discipline, right? Which was just like intense martial arts training and shit. And then like and then like went from there and realized like, he's an incredible performer as well. And like, and clearly just loved being a performer. And so like in this meeting where he's meeting with these two Hollywood reporters that he's never met before, or Hollywood reporters, these two writers that he's never met before, doesn't know anything about him, is apparently just like really like nice and sweet and just like still a superstar. But he comes in wearing like an all white suit, and he sits down with them, and they said he wasn't sitting down with them for like more than 10 minutes before he starts telling them that like asking if they want to see him do a backflip. And then he stands up in the restaurant, puts the chair away, and does a backflip standing from a standing position, like a nearly like 60-year-old man. Just
that is incredible.
And like they didn't ask him to. They were like, no, you don't have to. That's fine. Like but like just performing for two nobodies, like just like that's amazing. What it is. And like that's kind of like what you heard about like Chris Farley as well. Like it was kind of a pathology, but it's just like, this is what I do. I just perform no matter what. So
it definitely, I could definitely understand it, even on a small level. And like being trapped in the house right now, it's like just not even having parties to go to, or Holland Park TV to go to, or just like a lot of like I need these phone calls with you. I need podcasting. I need joint movie watching where I can cram jokes in there. Like there's some pathology where I need the attention. I need to hear somebody laugh at the funny thing I just said, whether it's fucking funny or not.
Like, that's like totally. It's like a big part of my life and release.
It's definitely, and I feel bad because like I entered into a relationship shortly before this. Like we made it official. We got serious right before this. And now there's only 3 people in my world, my roommate and her roommate. And so like, she just has to bear the weight of my constant riffing directly at her. Isn't this funny? Isn't this
I know it so well. And I'll like often get myself into trouble where I'm just trying to be funny, and then I'm pushing it like David Letterman style, because it's like, well, it didn't get a laugh, so like if I do it 40 more times.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's like, and you're trapped here with me, so
yeah. Well, bud, I gotta let you go because I have to get back to work, and I made some food and then I tried to quietly eat the food without the mic picking it up, but it just wasn't really happening.
Well, I hope it didn't cool down too much or whatever. But
it's just a big salad. Tonight's pizza night because my life has turned into this completely regimented and scheduled, non-spontaneity thing. Tonight I watch The Simpsons and I eat pizza. That's my Friday night special.
That sounds fucking fantastic.
But it is. It's great. I love it.
Fridays.
But I have to say real quick.
Yeah.
Who I really enjoyed. I'm a big fan of this show.
Yeah.
Who were you talking to who lives in the forest earlier this week?
In the forest. I was talking to someone who lives in the forest.
Lives up north in the redwoods or something.
I was talking to Cheese's dad, Reese.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
I kind of felt like they were related just through context clues, but okay.
There were some good conversations this week.
And you can let him know that I, as a listener, thought it was a great conversation.
Oh, that's great.
He was like, oh, this is probably the most boring episode you've ever done.
He kept saying that. They actually mailed us a box of like some cookies and things right after that. And in the note he said like, that was real. I really enjoyed our conversation. Like, I'm sure we bored everybody to tears though. And I was like, nah, you don't understand. Like, this is
yeah. Hearing somebody talk about trees was really exciting.
Totally. Oh, well, that's great.
Cool.
He'll be happy to hear that. So that's funny.
Wonderful.
All right, man.
All right, pal.
Enjoy that salad.
Talk to you later. Thanks.
See you, buddy.
Bye.
All right. Have a nice weekend, everybody.